Hey everyone, I'm Cyanide, and today I'm going to show you guys the first in-game battling team I have ever made in my time playing any Pokemon game. This video was originally meant to be an introductory part to another video I made where I actually used these teams on the ranked single battle mode in Scarlet and Violet, but I took a little while explaining the whole team, so I figured I'd make a separate video where I talk about the Pokemon I'm about to use. I was thinking if I took too long to get into the gameplay, some viewers might get bored, but I also figured some others might still want to hear about why I chose to use the Pokemon that I did, so I did it this way. And to show off the team, I'll be using Pokemon Showdown, just so all of the information about each mon is clear and easily readable. I just want to preface this by saying I'm not an expert or super experienced player, but I still find the strategy of it all to be quite interesting. There's no guarantee that the team I built is foolproof, but I'm mostly making this video for anyone interested to hear my thought process when making the team that you might see in some of my other videos. That being said, all of the matches I have played so far, I have had a fair bit of success in, and I realized that in the games I lost, it was because I made a few decision-making mistakes, but the team itself didn't fail me. But who knows if I'll face a roadblock the further along I get into playing. Anyway, let's get into the team. So the general idea of this team is that I wanted Pokemon who are all around really good, a little bit more offensive than defensive maybe. I was thinking Pokemon who are supportive Pokemon. They're good at supporting when they can support 5 other Pokemon, but when they can only support 2 other Pokemon and they're the last piece, I was thinking if it's time for them to step up, they may be a little too passive if they're built to be supportive. And I was a little worried about using defensive Pokemon too, because I only have the ability to bring in 3 Pokemon, and if I use one of those defensive Pokemon, but the opponent doesn't bring in the Pokemon I wanted to counter with my defensive Pokemon, I might get killed by something else my defensive Pokemon's not good at taking hits from, and I wouldn't be doing much damage to them either, probably. I also wasn't as worried about Stealth Rocks as I would be in like the Smogon formats on Pokemon Showdown. This is because I have a lot of Pokemon that can boost their stats with a move, so then if they set up Stealth Rocks on me, I basically get free turns to boost my Pokemon, and it might be hard to stop afterwards, especially with the kind of coverage that these boosting Pokemon can have. So I thought a good place to start was with Dragonite. I was thinking under all those conditions, fairly good defensively, but really good offensively. I was thinking other dragon types, like the pseudo-legendary ones, would be probably the most popular. So then I basically wanted a dragon type that can handle other dragon types, and then I was thinking Dragonite could be the one. This is for 2 main reasons. For one, it has the ability multi-scale, so when my Dragonite is undamaged, I take half damage. So this basically gives me a free turn because it's very unlikely that I'm gonna die the first turn that Dragonite is out. And then with that free turn, I can use Dragon Dance, which boosts my attack and speed by 1. So I have a better shot at one-shotting people, and I'm also outspeeding most of them. So if there are any other dragon types, then I should have a good matchup against them, except for maybe Baxcalibur, because it's also an ice attacker, so it could threaten me with a one-hit KO on the first turn since I am Dragon and Flying. But then I could probably like Terastallize normal. Even then, if it gets off its own Dragon Dance, it's going to be faster than me because its base speed is faster. I put Earthquake on here because Dragonite does pretty well defensively against fire types, so I was thinking might as well give it a ground type attack so I can fully counter them offensively as well. And then Dragon Claw to counter other dragon types. And I have Extreme Speed just in case I want to finish off an opponent and maybe they have priority to outspeed my Dragon Dance. And if I use Extreme Speed, I could probably KO them without getting hit myself. And then the Terastallize normal to make my Extreme Speed hit harder and also be weak to almost nothing except for fighting. And this is the stat spread. I just try to get as much attack as I can while being fast enough. I didn't fully invest in my speed because it outsped pretty much everything I wanted it to. It outsped max speed Dragapult. And then with the extra points, I put it into HP. You could argue that if there was another Dragonite on the other side who's also Dragon Dancing while I am, they're definitely gonna win because they're faster than me, so they can punch more Dragon Claws into me. But I don't really like the idea of speed ties, so I tried to not get into that position in the first place, and I'd rather have a better counter against an opposing mirror matchup. And then here we have Mimikyu. Much like Dragonite, I think Mimikyu's ability Disguise, where it basically doesn't take damage from the first attack it gets hit by, and instead it only takes a eighth of their max HP. I thought this was really desirable because I could Source Dance just like Dragonite would Dragon Dance, and then I could threaten a lot of things with it afterwards. I wanted to give it Life Orb just because the Life Orb doesn't break its disguise. It has to be like a direct attack that hits me, and then Play Rough and my Fairy typing makes Mimikyu a pretty good counter to other Dragon types as well. And then Shadow Claw, just in case I need some like power against Psychic types or something, or other Ghost types. And then Shadow Sneak, just in case there's a faster Ghost type or Psychic type on the other side, or just any opponent that I want to finish off really. Because Mimikyu's fast, but it's not exactly the fastest, so having that priority is nice. I just fully invested into its speed and attack, just because I'm definitely living one hit with Disguise, so I don't need to be super defensive. Living one turn is definitely enough for a Pokemon like this, I think. And then we have Volcarona, and just like the other two Pokemon, I was thinking at least being able to live one turn is going to be huge. And I can also Quiver Dance, which is a lot like Dragon Dance, where except I boost my special attack, special defense, and speed by one stage instead of attack and speed. So as long as I can live one free turn, then I can use my powerful attacks like Fiery Dance, which is a little bit weaker than Flamethrower, but it has a it has a 50% chance to raise my special attack by one stage. And then I can Giga Drain in case I wanted to recover some health. And then I put Bug Buzz on here for a very specific reason. Now, one thing I'm worried about with Volcarona is that it can easily be walled by fire types who resist grass, bug, and fire type. Same with flying dragon types. But I still wanted to put Bug Buzz on here anyway, and this is for one reason that I will show you right now. So this is Cyclizar. It has one very important move called Shed Tail, and it's basically where it makes a substitute. Instead of taking a quarter of its health, it takes a full half of its health, but it can bring in a teammate to get protected by that substitute when it comes in, and I guess that's the gist of it. But then basically, it can bring in a Pokemon and it can protect it for at least one turn. And I was thinking one of the scariest Pokemon that it can substitute in is probably going to be Espathra. It's a Psychic type Pokemon that has the ability Speed Boost. So every turn it lives, at the end of it, it's going to get one stage in speed. And then it can also use Calm Mind, which boosts its special attack and special defense. And then with that many boosts, it can use Stored Power, which is it's a pretty weak move in the beginning, but for every stat boost it gets from all like Calm Mind and Speed Boost, it gets 20 base power. So just after one turn of surviving till the end and then Calm Minding up and then surviving till the end of after the Calm Minded turn, it's gonna have 100 base power, and God knows how high it can get after it raises another, like its stats after another turn. So that can be pretty hard to stop, but you might think Dark type could be pretty good, and yeah. But then it does have Dazzling Gleam as well, which counters a lot of Dark types. Maybe something like King Gambit could do pretty well against it, but I didn't feel like King Gambit would fit super well on my team. And although it's fairly frail, because it can boost its special attack, speed, and special defense by so much, especially if it's protected by a substitute, and then it can invest a lot in its defense and HP, so it could be really tanky and hard to take down after it gets set up. So I wanted to use Bug Buzz on Volcarona because it's a sound type move, and that might be a super obscure thing, but then sound type moves are special in that it can go around a substitute and directly damage the opponent. So then if I lead off with Volcarona, for instance, and then they lead off with Cyclizar, they pass their substitute onto Espathra, my Bug Buzz can still attack Espathra on the first turn. And because Cyclizar is faster, Espathra is going to come in, and then I'm going to Bug Buzz on that same first turn. So hopefully it can do a lot of damage before it can actually get set up, and hopefully it'll kill. Hopefully, I hope. I just really wanted a counter for that specific thing, just because it could be really hard to stop after it gets going. And then I have Taro type Grass on here, just so I can not get super affected by water types and in fact resist them. And then I want a Giga Drain, just so I can have like a good grass type move that also, and it's also really cool because it recovers 50% damage that I dealt. And I also put Terra type Grass on here just so I can not worry about opposing water types going in on my Volcarona and chasing me out and losing my Quiver Dance boosts. And then it also boosts the power of my Giga Drain, which is really nice, so I can recover more health and do more damage on grass super effective moves. A few Pokemon I was especially excited about using Grass, Terra type, and Giga Drain on were for stuff like Dondozo, Palafin, and Rotom-Washes. And then I put the stat spread like this, and kind of like Dragonite, I just wanted it to be fast enough to outspeed everything. And then I wanted just as much special attack as it can get, because that's really nice. And then for the remaining speed points that I didn't invest in it fully in, I put into defense, because I was thinking most of the threats that I want to take hits from are probably going to be physical, and its special defense is already really good. Its HP is also alright too. I was thinking Volcarona's defensive typing with Bug and Fire could make it a pretty good defensive switch in to stuff like Meowscarada and Breloom, where Grass is barely going to do anything to me, and then their coverage moves are also probably not going to do much to me, with like Meowscarada having Play Rough, and then Knockoff would do a decent amount to me, but then U-Turn is also not going to do a lot. Breloom has Mach Punch, which is resisted by the Bug. The only thing that the Breloom can really hit me super hard with is something like Rock Tomb, but then hopefully I can see it coming, or maybe I can just sacrifice a Pokemon to have a free switch into Volcarona right after, because I'm going to be faster than it, and then it can't really Mach Punch because it's not going to do enough damage. And then it'll also be cool if I take a physical contact move, like some Puncher or something, and then Flame Body activates, which will burn the target 30% of the time if they use a move that makes contact with me. And then if I burn them, then their physical attack, is going to get halved, and then I'm basically bulkier from there. And then I have Rotom-Wash, another answer to water types and the like, also just really good overall. I have choice specs on it. Initially I wanted Choice Scarf, but then I wanted Choice Scarf more for Gholdengo, and you can only bring one of each item type into a team. So I figured Rotom's already pretty tanky, so I might as well just try to take hits and deal a lot of damage in return. So here we have Volt Switch. It's basically a really good move, so that when the opponent switches out from Rotom, then I can choose my switch in right after, and then I can counter what they switched into. It's also pretty strong as like in terms of damage. 70 base power off of stab, and that much special attack is pretty good. I also have Hydro Pump, which is just going to do a lot of damage to rock, ground, and fire types. And then I have Terra Blast. I have Terra type Fairy on here, just in case I really needed another Dragon type check. So then that's basically what this is for. It didn't really need any other move. Will-O-Wisp could have been nice, but then if I was really worried about other Dragon types, the Terra type Fairy is really useful. And then Trick. Trick is going to be really useful against Pokemon that are really passive, because defensive Pokemon, they're going to want to stay on the field for a long time. So being locked into a move means that they're going to be doing one move over and over again. But then a lot of times defensive Pokemon need to take a turn to recover, or take a turn to actually deal damage. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be doing much or could die. So Trick is really good against countering those kinds of Pokemon, and also Pokemon that are in there to just use supportive moves, because a lot of times supportive moves fail after like the first time using it. So just locking them into something and then them not being able to do anything else is pretty nice. And then this is the stat spread. I just tried to make it max speed. I'm not actually, now that I think of it, I'm not too sure why. And then I tried to invest a little bit into special attack, just enough that it deals enough damage with choice specs to like one-shot the things I wanted to. I forget what I wanted it to, but then choice specs will make it really powerful anyways, because I wanted some extra points to invest into HP, because Rotom has really good defenses, but then it has a pretty bad HP stat, but that can easily be fixed by some HP investment, and then it's just going to be tanky all around. And then we have Gholdengo. This was mostly for countering stuff like Psychic types or Fairy types, because it resists Psychic and then can deal super effective Ghost type damage back. And then Fairy types is kind of the same thing, except using its Steel typing. That's the main reason why I wanted it. So then I kind of wanted it to be an attacker using Make It Rain, which is just a really powerful Steel move. Even after having your special attack lowered by one stage, you're still basically at 80 base power, which is just Flash Cannon, which is just a normal, good Steel type move. And then Shadow Ball, mostly just for the coverage against Psychic types and other Ghost types. I'm using a Choice Scarf just so I can outspeed other probably stuff like other Ghost types, and so I can hopefully one-shot them before they do the same to me. And then Trick, just like with Rotom-Wash, pretty much for the same purpose. And then I have Thunderbolt, and then I was thinking I could probably want to use this against stuff like Corviknight, because Gholdengo can do really well defensively against Corviknight, and then it'll be good just in case something like Toxapex or Dondozo try to switch in on me too. And then here are the stats. Looking back on it, I think I would probably invest more in speed. So then, just like with Volcarona and Dragonite, I just try to be fast enough so that I can be faster than everything after a speed boost, and in this case with the Choice Scarf. But if I'm gonna trick something, I still probably want to be faster than some things. Like, I remember there was a possibility for a Gallade to be faster than me because it's base 80, and then if it fully invested in its speed, then it's gonna outspeed me. Luckily it didn't, but it could have happened, so maybe I can bump that up a little bit later. And then with those extra points, I just invested into HP because its defenses are good already, and it's got a good defensive type, so it'll be cool to have another option for a defensive switch in. And then I just tried to maximize its special attack, mostly because I'm using this for its special attacking prowess. And then we have Annihilape. Now, this team slot, at first I had it into Palafin, but I was thinking if I only have 3 team slots, it's probably going to be hard to have a first turn and then switch out and then bring it in later. Mostly it's just that first turn, because if anyone else thinks like me, they're probably going to see a Palafin and then think, oh, I could just boost up my Dragonite, or I could Swords Dance, or I can Quiver Dance, or just anything like that, which is what I did against another Palafin. And then unless it does a lot later on in the game, it's probably not going to end up doing much at all in the overall game. So I just wanted another Pokemon to kind of fill a spot, because I think the rest of the team has pretty good coverage and defensively and offensively, that I didn't really feel the need to have something else super strong. So then I figured Annihilape would just be a good space filler. And also, if they don't have a counter to it, it could just be really strong on its own. The whole idea is that if they don't stop me from getting going, then Annihilape's just gonna get and go all over you. And this is another counter to stuff like Pokemon who are really supportive or passive, because the more turns they give me, the more I can bulk up. And then the weaker they are in terms of just dealing damage, then the more they're gonna probably need to hit me, and I can boost my Rage Fist by 50 base power each turn, which is insane if I get hit a lot. And then I have Drain Punch just to have like a good fighting type move. And it's also nice for the fact that it recovers 50% of the damage I deal, especially with someone as bulky as Annihilape. The only problem is that I have so much HP that, say if I damage them for like 50 HP or something, and then I get back 25 HP isn't really that much for me. It's just a little nice to have, because it's still pretty strong. It's pretty strong. It's strong enough to be a good fighting type move. And then for the last slot, I have Rest. This is because if I'm facing an opposing passive Pokemon, their best shot at trying to kill me is probably going to be Poison or something. So then having Rest as recovery, just in case I get low, it's really nice to have, just so I can remove the Poison status condition. And also, it can give me a whole nother few turns of opportunity to set up and take hits to boost my Rage Fist. And then the Chesto Berries just to wake it up. And then I have Defiant, mostly just because it's just like a good thing to slap on. If they try to survive more hits by lowering my attack, it's not going to work. And then all of this works just because Annihilape is really bulky as he is. 110 HP and then that much special defense and defense. The defenses are good enough, and it has good speed too. I think I was trying to outspeed base 70s with this speed tier, but then I really wanted to invest more into the other stats just so I can set up have turns to live through and take hits for Rage Fist. And then with bulk up, if I bulk up, my defenses are going to get good anyway, and same with my attack. So then looking at this team, you might think, I have 3 ghost types. Don't you think I'm going to be a little weak to something like other ghost or dark types? And then I don't think I am going to be that weak against those types. First of all, dark types aren't too much of a problem, because Mimikyu has a fairy secondary type anyway, and even if I get hit by something strong, I have Disguise to at least live 1 turn. And then if they're super affected by it, Play Rough's going to get them. And then Annihilape, he already has the fighting type to cover for dark defensively. And then as for the ghost type Pokemon, With Choice Scarf, I tried to make sure I outsped Dragapult with it, which is probably the fastest threatening ghost type. And then with Mimikyu, ghost types, it can still live a hit. And then Annihilape, if I really needed to, I can always just Terra type into water, and then the opponent would need a whole other set of attacks to try to super affect me. So that was the team. If you guys want to see it in action, go check out my other video where I use it in the Battle Stadium singles mode. And if you like what you saw, consider subscribing. I plan to make more videos not only about Pokemon, but maybe I can show you what I think is cool in some other games as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.